Hey guys, so lately I've been getting a lot of questions about whether or not you should get a storefront or start out your custom apparel business from home. So in this episode of the Apparel Academy, I'll give you some pros and cons of starting your custom apparel business straight from home. Okay, so before we get started, just to give some context, a lot of custom apparel decorators do start their businesses from home, in their garage or in a separate room within their house. Obviously, this is much more convenient, but there are several questions revolving around whether this is the right fit for you or things to consider if you are indeed thinking about starting your embroidery business or custom apparel business straight out of your house. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with the pros of starting your custom apparel business straight from home. Obviously, the first pro is that you have a lot of flexibility revolving around your schedule. If you need to run errands or if you need to take care of something at home, you don't have to go to and from an office to get things done. You can essentially create your own work schedule revolving around what best suits you, and you don't have to have that long commute to and from the office and can be more productive using that time on the commute. One thing to note with flexible working hours is that you really have to be self-disciplined. If you're self-disciplined, flexible working hours could definitely work for you, but because of that flexibility, you have to stay on track to make sure that you're actually getting things done and not being distracted by everything that's around you. Moving on to the second pro of starting your custom apparel business straight from home, you de-risk a lot of the upfront costs by saving on rent on an office and instead just working from your house. Not having these upfront overhead costs is a huge benefit to a business that's just starting out. Especially when you have a couple of $1,000s that you have to pay towards renting an office, you can save that money to put towards your business and grow your business even further with either supplies for your custom apparel business or marketing to get new clients. And along with the rent for renting out an office, you also don't have the utility costs that would be associated with renting an actual office space. And because without a commute, you can also save on gas and travel expenses, and not to mention the time being saved so that you can actually do more work. Overall, the reason why people start a custom apparel business straight from home is so that they can de-risk everything up front and test the waters. Starting a business from home is a great way to test the profitability of this new venture and to make sure that it is going to work out before you expand further. Finally, the last pro of starting your business from home is that you can actually deduct part of the expenses of your home on your income tax bill. Depending on your situation, and I would definitely consult a CPA or an accountant on this, but depending on your business situation, you might actually be able to deduct some mortgage interest or property taxes and different utilities and other bills that are expenses on your home from your actual income tax. For example, any repairs or maintenance that's related to a specific room that you have your business operating out of can definitely be deducted on your income taxes. One thing to note is that to be eligible for this tax deduction, the part of your home that you actually use as your office needs to be your principal place of business. Or you must use that part of the home on a regular basis or on a normal operational basis to meet or deal with clients. Keep in mind that you won't be eligible for this type of tax deduction if you have an outside office on top of the home office that you're working out of. So now that we've covered several pros of starting your custom apparel business straight out of your home, many of which include saving a lot on expenses and being more flexible with your schedule, let's dive into some of the cons or things to consider when looking to start your custom apparel business out of your house. One of the cons that I hear the most often of is having limited space to put the actual machinery you are working with. This is because you might have to make adjustments or shift things around in your home to be able to accommodate for the commercial equipment that you're running your custom apparel business with. Not only do you have to consider having enough space for the equipment that you've just purchased, but also you want to make sure that you are in a comfortable work setting to be able to be productive. This is why I see a lot of people on social media rearranging their workspace or having a dedicated workshop where they have their computer, their threads and supplies, and the actual equipment, or even a hooping table to be able to accommodate all the things that they have to do within that small amount of space. Also, along with the fact that you have limited space to work with and to work comfortably, you also want to consider having the machinery in a place that's not going to damage the rest of your home. And one final thing to note is that you want to place your machinery in a space where it's not going to get in the way of your regular life in your home. And also things will get messy as you're trying to run a custom apparel business. It's harder to stay organized. So making sure that your machinery is set aside properly and you have a dedicated space to work from home with so you can be as productive as possible. A second thing to consider when starting a custom apparel business from home is that you have to be okay with the fact that there's going to be distractions and things getting in the way of your work life, especially at home. For example, you might get interruptions from kids, or if you have pets, you have to take care of them as well, and they might interrupt you in your regular flow of either taking care of a client order or actually working on the machine. So one thing I always tell people is if you have made up your mind to work from home and start your business that way, you have to have a dedicated space, and you want to make sure that your setup is properly done so that you can actually focus on work and not be distracted by the things going around the house. I've heard from other people in different industries, and I think this applies to all, in that when they have a home office and they are zoned in and they are dedicated to working for a period of time, they want to make sure that they turn off all the distractions and make sure that their family members also know to not distract them or call them upon anything when they're in their zone. This is super critical because you are blurring the line between your home life and your work life. So if you want that flexibility, it comes with a cost, and just making sure that you are dedicated and disciplined enough to make sure that you can do good work in a stretch of time without any distractions. Finally, this is a big one to consider when working from home, in that you will not have a professional space to actually have meetings with clients. For example, if a customer wants to approve a sample or approve a proof, where do they have to go? They have to meet you in person, and if you don't have an office space, it is very unprofessional to be meeting someone in your home, and it could be messy. Not only that, you're actually inviting a stranger into your house, which some people might not be comfortable with. So what I generally recommend in this situation is to actually have a meeting space, even at a Starbucks or something, to actually meet your clients in without having to bring them to meet in your house. Not only is it more professional, but at least it keeps the home life and the work life separate, and you can have a dedicated space to discuss any business matters. Now that we cover some pros and cons of starting your apparel business from home, I do want to mention some things to consider. For example, you might want to check with your mortgage lender or any lease agreements whether a business from home is even allowed. Some communities do ban certain types of businesses, and you also definitely want to make sure with your landlord beforehand whether starting a business in your house is acceptable. One good thing to note about starting an embroidery business from home is that there's actually a very small footprint of an industrial embroidery machine in your house. The machine doesn't take up too much space, and even the noise is considerably lower than other machines, and you don't have to worry about bothering your neighbor or having your neighbor hear the embroidery machine running at all times. So because of the small footprint that the machine has, you probably won't need any sort of permits to get the machine in your house and start running your business from there. Finally, just a side note, you might want to check with your insurance company or your insurance provider and see if extra insurance is needed for running an industrial machine from home. I've actually seen some people actually take out extra insurance just for the machine and protect their investment. So that's something to consider as well, and make sure that you are protected running a business from home. So I hope that you guys have found that content helpful. A lot of the biggest companies in the world have started out of their garage or out of their house. So it is definitely a route to consider if you're just starting out in your business. As you scale, things can get more hectic and you might have to keep inventory in your home. So when it comes the time to scale, think about whether it's feasible for you to get a retail space or even an outside office space just to meet clients so that you can really separate your home life from your work life. Last but not least, as always, let me know in the comments below if this was helpful or whether you are actually running your custom apparel business from home or do you actually have a dedicated office space. And I also want to remind you to join our free Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery, where you can join thousands of other embroiderers and apparel decorators and join the conversation. Once again, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you found this content helpful, and stay up to date with the latest content. I hope you guys found this useful, and see you guys next time.